celebrate everything. Celebrate 300 episodes, celebrate the small victories, celebrate the big ones.
That decision of, do I go the safe route or do I take a chance and live my dream?
I think when you can connect personally to people online, that's the key to really competing.
Passage to Profit is a little bit different. We kind of let the action happen. I'm the one capturing all the action, and then we bring this to the radio somehow. And it's a fascinating process.
It was a good decision to go the AI route, but for me personally, using it and helping other people use it is important, and I think it's a really good decision.
Welcome to the 300th episode of Passage to Profit, proving that entrepreneurship takes vision, persistence, and apparently about 300 mic checks. I'm Richard Gearhart.
And I'm Elizabeth Gearhart, and we're your hosts.
So today we're celebrating our 300th episode, and boy, are we excited. We have all sorts of festivities around the studio. If you're looking at us on YouTube, you can see we have the studio totally decked out for a party, and we're going to have some surprises later in the show. But let's talk a little bit about our journey on Passage to Profit. So, Elizabeth, do you have any fond memories of your experience here?
Well, when we started recording, first of all, probably one of the fondest is meeting Noah Fleischman, our producer. He's like, oh, you folks, it'll be great. I've known married couples that have been doing this for 50 years.
And I guess this is one reason we stayed married, right?
He was so supportive in the beginning because we were terrified. We were like little church mice. We're like, ah.
Yeah, it was, we were amateurs. I had done a little bit of radio when I was in college, but I never really considered myself like any kind of polished radio person. And so starting out, I was terrified, and I was never a great public speaker. So I was always very self-conscious about speaking in public. And over the years, and especially with Noah's editing skills, I became less concerned about it. And so it's been a personal growth journey for me on many, many levels.
Definitely a growth journey. We did get wowed a couple times. So we had one guy come in. His name was Norm Lawrence, African-American man, came with his wife. He had built this pillow for edema. And
this was like in the old studio.
This
right?
was one of the early ones.
Yeah.
It was April 2019, so fairly shortly after we started. We thought he was going to talk about this edema pillow. So he gets in front of the mic and he says, yeah, I actually died.
And he did.
Oh, and what was weird was he's African American. His eyes were brown. When he came back to life, his eyes were blue. I know. Isn't that just the most? So he
did experience an afterlife, by the way.
Yeah, he did. He said he was floating through clouds or something. So that we had to really think on our feet. I thought this was about
I was looking at the show copy. Where is this in the script? I don't know. What do I do now? But no, I mean, Elizabeth, guests love you. You're such a great interviewer.
Oh, thank you.
And it's always a pleasure to do the show with you. You ask those penetrating questions, and you always make our guests feel comfortable.
Oh, thank you. Well, they like you too. They think you're the smart one.
Boy, they get that one wrong. But we've had so many great guests on the program, too. I feel like I've learned so much. And, Passage to Profit is sort of tip of the spear type of content, right? I mean, we get some of the most cutting-edge business people. And
we do.
And we really started learning about artificial intelligence through the program.
Well, our son first, but not that much. But yeah, we had some futurists come on here early on that were the super early adopters talking about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Kevin Surace. I remember he came on during the pandemic, and this was before AI was as evolved as it was now. And,
right.
I asked him the question, well, can AI actually tell a joke? And he kind of tripped over himself. But now you go into ChatGPT, and it does tell jokes, not good ones necessarily, but they're there.
Yeah.
Things have changed a lot.
And then we had another episode, so thank God this is recorded, where we had a presenter, and he didn't really have a lot to present. And the guest was like, "Why are you here, man?"
he had like a hat and a logo.
We're like, "Oh my God, we have to trash that one. That's never going to fly." Noah's like, "No, I can fix it," and he did, and it came out okay. But yeah, that was like.
But
whew.
I mean, in the early days, it wasn't always easy getting guests either.
No, it's much easier
And,
now.
and now it's easier because we're established. But we used to do these calls, like we would go to these co-working spaces, and we would advertise ahead of time, and we would ask people if they wanted to be on the radio, talk about their business, and it's like 3 people would show up, right? And so I was like, free radio time, free air time. Why wouldn't you take that? But I guess it just wasn't.
It was
a
terrifying
thing.
for people. Now we've been doing it over 8 years. We're in our 9th year, and publicists are sending us most of our people now.
Right. So we
Yeah.
just kind of kick back and hit the yes or no key, and
Well, we have Alicia do that. So we hired Alicia Morrissey. We started out with Noah, and then we hired Alicia Morrissey as our program manager. I was doing it all before Alicia, and with help, but trying to get guests and schedule everything and send out emails and everything. And then we hired her, and she just took over and has been managing this. She's amazing.
She is super organized. Everybody needs a person like Alicia in their lives because we
Yeah.
couldn't do this without her.
No.
And then,
No. Hey, Alicia, what was that password again?
and then Carolina, she does just the most amazing things on our social media now.
We brought her in to work with our videos a couple years ago. No, a little over a year ago. And yeah, the social media she does and the work she does with the videos is great.
And of course, Noah, our producer, who's honoring us with a few minutes of his time to appear on the show today. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And
Well, he's on this show every other week with his Noah's Retro Minute.
I know, but he's
Retrospective.
He's more live. Even though the show is recorded, he's more live this week than he normally is.
Right.
So we can say that.
Yes.
Right. And we're going to get to the real Noah this week. We're going to penetrate that producer's skull and find out even more.
Right.
He's in the control booth listening right now, so I know that I'm in trouble.
And then we also have Jody Weinig, who gives our guests the tour when they come into the iHeart studios. So she's very helpful.
Absolutely. And the whole iHeart team, they've really just been fantastic over the years. They've supported us during some pretty challenging times.
Yeah.
And so we're awfully glad to be here. Thank you, iHeart. And also joining us today is Sonia Satra. She's a television actress and founder and CEO of Motocise. She's a mindset and fitness expert, not to mention speaker, advisor, and former soap star of A Guiding Light and One Life to Live.
Oh my gosh, what is this?
Oh my gosh.
Wow, Jody brought us a cake.
Oh, wow. This is so nice. Thank you. Oh, wow. Yay. Can I eat cake during the broadcast? Oh my gosh, this
there's
is
a
great.
little
Thank you so
candle.
much.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, yay. Yay.
Congratulations.
The candle won't light.
Well, that's because you've been burning the candle at both ends.
Oh, dad joke.
All right, so happy anniversary. Yay. And it's extinguished. Well,
Okay.
my
Thank
wish
you,
is for
Jody.
another 300 episodes. So
Sounds
Yeah.
good to me.
Another
Thank
8
you.
years?
another 8.
How old will we be? I'm going to record my voice with 11 Labs and
You know,
use that.
We'll have our clones doing the show. Mark my word.
Okay. So,
Oh.
so you were introducing Sonia.
I was, and I was telling everybody about how she's a speaker, advisor, and former soap star of A Guiding Light and One Life to Live.
And then after that, it is our immense pleasure to have a segment with Noah where he's going to talk about radio and his adventures, and we'll reminisce with him some. But I think it'll be interesting because he's got a different perspective than most people. And then we have Lisa and Lauren Lane with an incredible product. I don't know how many of these I'm going to buy. I know it's at least one. It's called
We have a lot of faucets in our house.
but it's called Rinseroo. And we'll get into the details of it, but I want it for traveling. I know my son's going to want it to wash his dogs, etc.
And on top of all of that, we'll explore what our 300th episode has in common with Apple, 5 wireless patents, and a multi-million-dollar jury verdict. But first, it's time for your new business journey, and we'd like to ask our panel this penetrating question. When you look back, what was the one decision or moment that most changed the trajectory of your business? And what did it cost you to make that decision? Welcome to the show, Sonia. What was the one decision that you made that changed the
Gosh,
trajectory?
I feel like can I only say one? Because I feel like there were two, really. I feel like the first was just the decision to go to Hollywood. Because that changed the trajectory of my entire life, which really created the platform, I think, from which everything has evolved. And that was a big decision because my family was very much the education. They've all got 1 million degrees. They, have regular jobs. And I was like, hey, I'm going to go to Hollywood. So that was a big one. But I learned a lot because really, I think as an actress, you are an entrepreneur. And so you learn a lot about dealing with rejection and whatnot. That probably was the single biggest decision that I made. And the cost, oh gosh, I don't know. I got both. I think you win some, you lose some with every decision you make.
I guess you just decided to go to Hollywood. You didn't have something lined up. You were going to go to Hollywood with the purpose of being a star?
So I had started in New York a little by mistake. Originally, I had done a modeling thing. And while I was at college, working in the dining hall for cash, I was just like, gee, I wonder if I could get some more modeling because that's more fun than being in a dining hall. And so I looked in the New York Times. Not a good place to look for modeling jobs, but because it's every scam that you could imagine. And I ended up going to one of those scams and it was like, hey, give us $10,000. We'll make you a star. And thankfully I didn't have that. So that didn't happen. But through that, I ended up through a friend of a friend of a friend at an agency and I started doing commercials. And then I had summer and my sister was an engineer in LA. And so I decided to go out there for summer break. And I auditioned for commercials out there. And that was really where I thought, if this is what I want, this is where I need to be. So, yeah, I made the big call to my mom, like, hey, what do you think? And went back, packed up my very beat up Honda Accord. And I had about $500 to my name. And my brother-in-law offered to drive across country with me because I wasn't sure my car would make it. And there I was in Hollywood. And so, yeah, it was definitely a rude awakening when I got there because I'd gotten a little lucky with some of the commercials I booked in New York. And then I realized it's not so easy after all. I think it's that decision. There's one decision that everybody makes, and it's that one to be like, let's do it. Let's go.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, every entrepreneur, I think, faces that moment.
Yeah, you do.
Absolutely.
That decision of, do I go the safe route or do I take a chance and live my dream?
Lisa,
Yes.
what was the one decision that you made that changed the trajectory of your business?
Gosh, there are a lot of them. I think we have more than two, but the one that really stands out to me, which was really tough, was jumping ship from our original manufacturer.
Oh.
And as you know, you guys being in IP, how important it is to have a great manufacturer. Well, our first manufacturer, we kind of stumbled upon. I had no background in manufacturing. We took whoever was available. They were okay, but our first order of 5,000 Rinseroos arrived, and they were not what we thought they were going to be. So it was not good. We did work with them for a bit. We worked through some issues, but they weren't great. And the thing is, we had invested in molds with them, right? $20,000 worth of molds. And when you're starting out, you're like, oh, well, if we jump from there, we have to go and pay again. So it turned out we found another manufacturer, also in China. They were willing, because they wanted our business, to drive to the other manufacturer, pick up our molds, and take them across the country or a couple hours away. And we did that, and it was the best decision we ever made. The new manufacturer is fabulous. They work with us. They're helping us scale. We meet with them weekly. They communicate, and it was the best decision ever. So that was it, jumping from manufacturer. Don't be afraid to leave if it's not good. Sometimes there's something better on the other side.
You know, that's such a great story because it has so many lessons in it. And one of the lessons that I connected with was picking crummy vendors from the start because you don't know any better. And a lot of new businesses do that. They're desperate or they don't have the credibility to engage and interest other better partners. And so
Right.
you end up with somebody that is a big disappointment.
Yeah.
And then you have to make the very difficult decision, am I going to switch or am I going to stick with this person? And, there's consequences to both. They had your molds.
Yeah. And then we're like, well, if we switch to this other one, how do we know they're going to really be better?
Right. Oh,
It was another risk.
great story. And thank you for sharing that with our audience. Elizabeth.
We do this show every week, so I come up with something every week. But I've been thinking about this a lot. The very first person we had on talking about AI was Kevin Sarace, like we said, and that was maybe the middle of last year, towards the end of last year. And then towards the end of last year, everybody that was coming on the program seemed to want to talk about AI. So I said to Richard, I have a segment on how I'm doing with the studio. I want to give up that segment and make it into an AI segment. And he said, okay. Then he said a couple times after a few of these, like, this is really good. We should make it its own podcast. And I said, yes, let's make it a podcast. And so I've been throwing myself in it whole hog, but I think it's getting a lot of attention and it's really important. So it was a good decision to go the AI route. I mean, there's a lot of people that are against AI. There's a lot of weird stuff going on with AI right now. But for me personally, using it and helping other people use it is important. And I think it's a really good decision. It's a lot of work to do a whole nother podcast because we take segments from here, but we also do standalone segments for it. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes along with it, but I love it. So yeah, it costs me more time and maybe I'll have some people that are like, oh, you shouldn't be advocating for AI, but I think I should.
Now you're the AI lady, right?
Yeah, that's
So-
what they called me at PodFest. Yeah.
Well, for myself, I guess starting Passage to Profit, with Elizabeth was a big turning point for me personally. I mentioned earlier how I had to overcome my fear of public speaking. And so that was a step forward for me. And it's exposed me to a lot of really interesting people. I feel like I'm the tip of the spear when it comes to new business ideas, and I love that part of it. And I look forward to the program every week and sharing all of our guest knowledge with our audience. Hopefully they're finding value in the things that we have to present. And I just think that, having a voice and being a participant in the discussion is a real honor. So I feel very grateful for the opportunity that we've had. What if the biggest thing holding you back isn't your talent or your circumstances, but your own brain? Today's guest is a friend of the show and a returning guest, Sonia Satra, the founder of Motocise, a keynote speaker and an actress. So welcome back, Sonia. It's
Thank you.
always so nice to see you, for sure, for sure. We want to talk a little bit about your book, the What If It Were Easy book, right?
Yes.
And we've talked about it before. We also want to talk a little bit about the entrepreneurial angle. Maybe angle is the wrong word, but the value to an entrepreneur of publishing a book. How did it help you in your career? And how did it happen? What were the steps that you took?
I think there's a great value for writing a book. I think one, it solidifies your expertise. You have it in paper. Here you go. You can hand it out. Someone once said it's like an expensive business card, and they're not totally wrong about that, but it's a great product to have. And it definitely gives you lots and lots of material to work from. It helps a lot with speaking, which is something that I do a good bit, is to get out and speak, and people always are ready to hire you if you have a book. Not always, but more often. So I think it's from a credibility, from an expertise, and from a speaking opportunity, it's a game changer. So I think that's great.
For someone who's never written a book, but thinks they might be interested in writing one, what was the process like, and how did you pull it all together?
I was going to say these days, talk to Elizabeth and do it via AI.
That's how we're doing our book, Richard.
Seriously, it's a lot easier these days. I actually wrote 3 different versions of this book, completely 3 very different drafts of it. And so I think it was trying to figure out what was the best way to present it. Motocise has 7 steps. So that was always going to be a piece of it, but it includes movement. So how was I going to integrate movement? It's really hard to read about fitness. So I ended up having QR codes where people could go straight to videos and actually do the mindset with the movement so they could experience it, because that was one of the things that was difficult, speaking about something that's so experiential. So it was finding a way to incorporate that into the book so they could not only read about the mindset piece and the science and all the things that were backing it up, but then they could actually do it and feel it for themselves.
So one thing I warned you I was going to ask you about. So a lot of people that write books go on a media tour.
Yeah.
And that's how we met you.
Yeah.
You had just written the book. You came on to Passage to Profit. You explained what motivated you to write the book. And after the show, I said, I'm going to hire you to be my coach. and I was so
and
impressed.
Every week she's walking around the house talking. She's motocising.
I motorcized
She
Sonia.
motocises all the time.
But
You got like 10,000 steps last time. So.
But besides getting one client and referrals, because I do refer you to people, what did the media tour do for your book? Did it really help that much?
The truth exposed. So I think, look, one client and all the referrals makes a huge difference. So yes, it definitely does have that. Do you sell a lot of books on a media tour? I think podcasts are actually one of the best things to be on in order to sell books, more than it was some of the mainstream media.
Did you go on like ABC?
Yeah,
and all
so
those?
I did a lot of morning shows and toured around, and that was super fun. It was just fun to be back in a studio on TV and talking to people, and it also generates really great social media, so you're out there. It's also something you can use to send to speaker bureaus or whatnot to show that you can speak and people care. And so it helps from, again, sort of solidifying yourself as an expert, and it definitely made a lot of great contacts that I definitely still keep in touch with today, and I value, including you. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for that. In terms of, is it a complete game changer for selling books? You never really know, right?
Yeah.
Not sure. I think getting on podcasts is.
Yeah.
When you were writing the book, did you have a specific audience in mind? Did you have some thoughts around demographics or personality types or people that you were especially trying to reach?
So entrepreneurs are the main group that I do coach. And so, yes, I was looking at it through the lens of an entrepreneur. And I love entrepreneurs because their entire life impacts their business, right? So everything, you're really coaching on everything. And I really enjoy that. So I think I looked at it through that lens. An interesting thing with Motocise, because I originally came out of the gate thinking it was more of a fitness program with this mindset component that could really change how you feel and the ideas you come up with. But what I learned was that fitness people don't necessarily want to do the mindset, but mindset people or entrepreneur people will do the movement if it will make a difference. I moved away from making it really so fitness oriented, and I really focused on the fact that it's a mindset program, but the moving just accelerates it and opens up your brain, and it makes you so much more creative and focused and motivated, and there's tons of science behind that. And as a result, you'll also get the exercise.
I do want to say that when I met Sonia, I was putting the studio together, Gear Media Studios, and Sonia said, I see you out there giving presentations. I was like,
Day one, I said that.
you did? I was like, oh no, Sonia. I have to say, in the last year, not even a year, I have given presentations at 3 national events.
Yes.
And that's like, it's not just somebody's school classroom. These were big deals. I do enjoy it. It's a little frightening, but I have a good coach, and she looks at all my slides, and we go over everything together, and it does feel like a good fit once I get over the whole stress piece of it, which I'm working on. But I do feel like our Friday sessions where I walk and we talk help a lot. It's a great coaching technique.
It really is, because I think often, and I say this to all entrepreneurs, a lot of times you're sitting at your desk and you're trying to come up with an idea and you're trying to think, and then you can't and you're stuck, and you get up and you go get some water, or you go, walk somewhere, and all of a sudden you're like, I got it. Yeah. And that's not a mistake. And so that movement actually generates a change in your brain, and it opens up the channels to creative thoughts. And there's something about the movement, too. When you move your body, you move your mind. You move through the emotional things that can sometimes hold you back. And so it really does help you break through some of the blocks just naturally. And then you come up with other ideas.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that you talk about is limiting beliefs, that we have limiting beliefs that limit our ability to be successful in business.
Where do you want me to start? Right? I think we all could probably say, yes, they exist, right? There's always that little voice in your head saying, no, you can't do that. You're not good enough.
Do you think most people say that to themselves?
Yes.
I thought it was only me.
No, everybody. It's amazing. The most successful people still do. I'm always surprised, like, really? They think that too? And sometimes the most successful people have it even more. So it is that old saying, feel the fear and do it anyway. You really have to choose, be at that precipice, right? Of, are you going to take the safe route, or are you going to take the risk? And as we know, we just heard, even the decisions that you make can hugely transform your life and your business.
So you're a believer of putting yourself out there and taking a risk. So how do you coach people who are less willing to do that? And they don't get quite up to the precipice. Is that what you said?
The precipice.
The precipice.
That edge.
They don't get to that edge. Or, they're not really willing to take a big leap. How do you help them get past that?
I found that there's two kinds of people. There's the people who need the really small, tiny steps. And that is a very effective way, because it gives you evidence. Every time you take a step, you have evidence you can do it. And so you build on that. So it makes sense. It's a very logical way to go. And you're like, well, you can do it because you just did that. So take another small step and another one until you finally get to that precipice. And then I think there are some other people, and a lot of entrepreneurs, I do find this inherently have that of the small steps. They're just like, it's just too many details. It's just like, come on, give me a big, juicy, big goal. And sometimes they need the big goal or the big step, and then they'll bypass all of the fear of the little steps, and they'll just go for the big one. So it depends a little on that personality.
Yeah. When Richard started a law firm and I helped him, we had money saved. So it wasn't like we had to be profitable on day one. When I started the studio and I'm doing this AI consulting business now and speaking, I'm still working for Gearhart Law. I still have my day job, which takes a lot of time, actually. But I don't have to make money day one because I have money coming in. What about people that don't have money coming in, that decide to take a leap? How do they fund it? What do they do?
Well, I think you do still have to fund life somehow, right? So whether you have some other job that funds it while you're figuring it out, or you take a loan. My husband, he's a producer, a television producer, and we highs and lows. But at one point he took the leap, and we took a second mortgage on our place because we were like, okay, let's give it a shot. I believe in you. Let's go for it and see what happens. And if it doesn't work, we'll figure it out. Now, I wouldn't advise that for people who really can't handle that risk-taking choice. Then I'd say hold on to your day job while you figure it out. It takes a little longer. It's a little harder that way because of the time factor. But there is something, people used to say that to me about acting all the time, but don't you have a backup plan? And I used to hate that because I was just like, a backup plan assumes or presumes that I'm not going to make it. Yeah. And I'm like, sometimes you just have to just burn the ship and just go. And you'll figure it out. If you have to go back or swim back to shore, you will swim back to shore. But you have to go with that vision and the persistence and the 300 or 3,000 episodes and until you get there. I just say sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith. But you have to pay your bills. So, you do need to eat. So somehow you have to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we're having a fascinating discussion with Sonia Satra, who is a television actress, speaker, author. She does it all.
You are listening to the Passage to Profit Show with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart and our special guest today, Sonia Satra. And we are wearing goofy hats because it's our 300th episode and we're celebrating. But Sonia is a return guest and she's written a book. We've talked about that. But one thing we really wanted to explore with her, she's a very spiritual person. And she travels a lot and she does different experiences related to spirituality, I guess. And I don't know exactly what you would call it, but she wanted to talk a little bit about how the spiritual part of a person needs to be expressed, especially when they're an entrepreneur and that gets neglected, right?
I think what I have found over 20 years of coaching is that we know mindset is critical. That's a huge part of your belief system and your ability to keep on going and persisting. The body keeps score, right? We know how that, and we have, and I always believe that the answers are locked within you, like it's in and you can access it via the body. But I think the other piece that I have noticed time and time again is this X factor. And I call it the soul, the spirit, energy, universal, whatever you want to call it. But it's this other thing that when you can, often people will refer to it in manifestation. It's this energetic that gets created that's connected to something larger than yourself. And when you can align the three of those things, it is just incredible how quickly things can really take off. And so I feel like it's really the trilogy that works so much so. And so I think that's a piece that I'm talking about a little bit more. I'm exploring how do we actually bring that into business coaching, because it's often you don't talk about it, right? Like, we don't talk about that in business, right? But it's more and more, I feel like it's that thing that also helps you tap into your intuition, and it helps to keep you grounded and aligned with your truth and your highest frequency of energy. That is what goes out into the universe, which comes back to you. There's a really cool experiment around energy. There's these 5 goblets. They have 5 different emotions in them, frequencies. It's obviously in a lab. You wouldn't be able to replicate this at home. And then you have a tuning fork, and it's tuned to one of them. So say you have anger, sadness, happy, shame, I don't know, choose whatever, jealousy. And then you have the tuning fork to happy, the same exact frequency as the happiness one. When you do the tuning fork, the frequency of that sound goes and it matches the happiness frequency in the goblet. And it makes that so big and so it expands it so much, that goblet will explode. The other ones, absolutely nothing happens to. Yeah.
Wow.
This is like a real thing.
This is a real thing.
Wow.
This is the power of our energy, our frequency. So, and I feel like it is this, that's why I say it's this X factor. It's something else. And Motocise often will generate it because I think movement will help you unblock it. But I also think the more clear you are with tuning into, it doesn't have to be religious. It can be if it is, or it could be spiritual, or it could be, it's this frequency, this energetic, because that is what's going back out. And that is what people instantaneously feel. And that's the kind of energy that you get back to you. And that, I think, is what elevates people and their ability to tap into success even more effectively.
I'm trying to find more calm in my life. But this sounds, when we talk about energy, it sounds like almost the opposite of calm. But then there's another part of me that says, well, maybe that's the same thing, because by being calm, you're letting yourself get in touch with this extra energy?
It is. It's such a great question. So I know we want calm, right? Because most of us are going around anxious. And there might be just a couple things happening in the world to make us that way. So there's nothing wrong with being calm. We want to be grounded grounded. I think I like grounded more than let me be calm. Especially, I happen to because I did your Sphinx code. I do the Sphinx code
Yes, you did
thing,
my
right?
Sphinx code.
And I know that calm isn't actually necessarily
thing.
your
Okay, yeah.
entire thing.
I've got like
It's
3
not.
towers or something, right?
You have 3 towers, you go to Force. You are actually like the Jedi, right? So for you, movement's actually really powerful. And really being in tune to what is it that you want. You like have a very big energy. So trying to, I'm going to repress that and be calm
Yeah, it
is
doesn't work
probably,
for
it's not
me.
going to work, right? So it's not your specific highest frequency of energy. So while we don't want to be off the rails, we're not trying to get into anxiety or anger or any of those things that can derail us completely. We want to try to get into that place. For you, it would be this combo of this mind-body type thing. So when you work out or when you're doing something that you feel great, think about something that you did that you feel so proud of.
Yeah, sure.
See, look, your energy is just like, phew.
Yeah.
In that 1 second it changed. You could see it. Like you lit up, your energy changed, your eyes lit up. There was a spark. So when you think of something that you did that you feel really proud of or something that makes you feel strong, then you just suddenly, it's almost like you expand, and that is your most powerful energy going out. And that is, I think, the place that we want to try to tap into.
I'm definitely a doer, and I get my satisfaction out of life a lot from accomplishments.
Speaking of which, the one he was thinking of, I know, Richard did an Olympic level triathlon last weekend.
Woo!
Yeah.
That is amazing. That is so hard.
I was
That's
grateful
so
that I didn't have a heart
fantastic.
attack.
He's the only one I've ever known who's done that. I mean,
That is awesome.
So
but
talk about the
fact that
movement.
you did that, right? Like, and that feeling, that is like your vibrant energy.
Yeah.
That is who you truly are.
It was a 5-year goal. I mean, it took me 5 years to get to the point where I could survive. And so, yeah, I feel great about it. And it's for me personally, when I need energy, I'll go back to events in my life where they were powerful for whatever reason. Maybe it was a business success or a personal success. And I'll draw on that, and that gets me back into that mode where I just feel like moving forward.
There's a kinesiology thing. I could even do it, but it's a very visual, not a very radio-friendly thing. But where you stick your hand out and you press down on it. Can I do it to you?
yeah.
Okay. But you have to come closer to me, otherwise I'll lose the mic. Okay, so we're going to do this one thing. So first we're going to say, my name is Elizabeth.
My name is Elizabeth.
I'm going to press down and you press as hard as you can. Okay, really hard. Her name is really Elizabeth. Now I want you to say, my name is Minnie Mouse.
My name is Minnie Mouse.
And her arm just completely falls. Okay, now I want you to go and sometimes it helps to close your eyes. So I want you to think of a really powerful thing that you did that you feel so proud of. You're like, yes, I did it. I knew it. And hold that arm. Really think of it. Oh my God, it's like even harder than press down than your name, right? Like so strong. Okay, sorry to do this to you, but now I want you to think of something that happened where you're like, oh my God, that was so bad. I really messed up. Like there's literally no strength at all. I'm not even trying. Right? Yeah. People sometimes are like, you're pushing harder this time. But when I pushed her arm down, when she's thinking of something really powerful, her arm is really strong. When she thinks of something that weakens her, it literally collapses. That's what's happening inside our body. That's what's happening to our energy. That's what's not going out. Like our collapsed energy is like, ugh, right? And so it goes internal and we're not sending out very powerful energy. But when we're in that highest frequency of our power, that's like really powerful.
How do we do that constantly, like on a routine basis? How do we think of things that, or have a mindset where we stay in our higher power?
You can use your imagination. You could think about it. You know, what you think will absolutely changes how your body responds. The words you use makes a big difference too. But sometimes just taking a moment, being calm, there is a place where you could just settle and then just refocus. Okay, let me think about this. What was it that made that happen? Why did that, whatever it was that you achieved, happen? And then you go back and that's who you really are. That's what you have. One of my questions in my book, what do you have, right? And it will also just organically start to regenerate that natural feeling, that natural energy.
Yeah, I love grounded. I'm going to switch from calm to grounded because I think that it says a lot more.
It does. And even just an exercise with grounding, you could imagine that you have like a swirl of energy kind of coming from above and from like deepest into earth and coming in and sort of swirling. And if you need to reel in your center so that you've got like you're grounded from above, grounded from below. But you can also imagine your roots coming out of your feet and going down to the center of earth. That's a really great thing to do before you speak, actually, because at that point you're freaking out and you're just like, I don't feel grounded at all.
I feel ungrounded.
So, exactly.
I feel elevated.
I can feel like I fly off the stage into the back of the room.
Can you stay in a state like that if you're doing things that don't feel aligned with yourself?
It's a lot harder. It is a lot harder, which is why you can tell when people are out of alignment. Because you can see there's just their energy is a little bit fuzzy. They're not really present. They're not as grounded. It's almost like it's their heart space. Their heart energy isn't coming out. There's a sort of their eyes usually don't have the spark. Like as soon as I mentioned, think of something that you did, you're just like, So yes, I think a lot. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's so important to notice that and to really tune in. And what is it that you feel guided to do? What is it that you feel you're really here to do? How can you serve some greater purpose? Because that will also help you really get deeply aligned.
I just love listening to you, Sonia. You have like such amazing insights. We're with Sonia Satra and author of the book, What If It Were Easy? And you can get a lot of your wisdom in the book, right? Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you to talk about spirituality or Motocise?
Absolutely. SoniaSatra.com. My name, SoniaSatra.com. And I'm on all of the social media things as well.
Great. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
If you're new here, Passage to Profit is a top-ranked entrepreneurship podcast and radio show heard in 39 markets. It's a place where founders share what really works.
I am delighted to introduce Noah Fleischman, the producer of Passage to Profit. He is a radio professional who has been in the industry
a long time.
I don't even want to say how long.
Probably longer than our son is old.
Yeah. And so we started with Noah, as we said earlier, and we were in good hands, and we still are. So, Noah, what do you think is important for producing a radio show?
Oh, my goodness, Elizabeth. First of all, I just want to congratulate the two of you on the 300th presentation of Passage to Profit. And I'm sure it's amounted to even more than 300, but 300 shows we've produced thus far. Fantastic.
Yeah, 300 is a perfect bowling score. It's also a great RBI average for a ball player. Mm-hmm. And now it's also a milestone for Passage to Profit.
Absolutely, Richard. And if people only knew what went into the celebration here today. Oh, my goodness. The party hats, the streamers, all these things around us. I mean, they could make... something? This week I had the opportunity to take part in the guest coordinating process of Passage to Profit, what our friend Alicia Morrissey does, coordinating the guests and pre-interviewing and all that sort of thing. I mean, here I am producing the show every week, and yet I wasn't even aware of the intensity that goes on in the preparation of the guests. I thought to myself, with all this preparation going on, this is not your typical radio show. This is a documentary could be done on this.
We're still waiting for A&E to come and zoom in here.
We could get, like in the old days, we could get like the Maisels brothers or D.A. Pennebaker to come in and do the black and white documentary on Passage to Profit and how it's done. But Elizabeth, you asked me what is involved in producing great radio, shall we say, or the term great radio, which is such a buzz term or a buzz phrase that I've been hearing for so many years. What is great radio? Great radio, as I find it, is in the, you know how they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder?
Yes.
Well, great radio in many ways is in the ear of the listener, and it involves great conversation. It involves a certain fluidity to the talk and the conversation that goes on, sort of the opposite of what's happening right now. But anyway, as I was saying. But no, to produce Passage to Profit, it's quite a delicate process. You
have the host's egos to
egos are a big part of it.
Maneuver around, right?
Actually, yes. But actually, Richard's joking. What happens is, for something like Passage to Profit, we have guests from all walks of life, all walks of the world, all professions, and you never quite know what you're going to get when you open that box. That's the thing about Passage to Profit. It's not your typical, let's bring these news people in here, these newsmakers and these politicians, and we're just going to have a discussion. That's kind of what goes on everywhere, but Passage to Profit is a little bit different. We're going to talk to people from all different parts and all different, and Shark Tank, for example, which is the only thing I heard out of Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart when they first came here. Oh, we want to do Shark Tank on radio. And I said, well, maybe I think we're going to do something a little different. We got something a little better going on right here, actually. Something a little more introspective. Talking to folks about how they started, where it came from, where the idea happened. Those are the interesting parts of entrepreneurship. But in television, of course, it's very directional. They'll bring you into a room and they'll give you the talk. They'll work you over a little bit and they'll say, okay, you're going to say this, you're going to say that, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, bang. And, we roll. On Passage to Profit, it's a little bit different. We kind of let the action happen. And I'm kind of like the D.A. Pennebaker. I'm kind of like the Albert Maysles. I'm the one capturing all the action, and then we bring this to the radio somehow. And it's a fascinating process. It really is. I can't believe that we do this every week, let alone 300 of them.
And how do you decide what goes on the cutting room floor, Noah? Because we tape for a long time, and you cut a lot of it out.
If it sounds good, Elizabeth, it stays in. What does sound good mean? Sounds good means you can understand it, you can catch the action. This is a radio show. I know we're on video, we're on YouTube, we're a podcast, we're all these different things, but the fact of the matter is that it needs to be heard. Radio needs to be, there's an old quote from the late great Alfred Hitchcock, of all things, and he pointed out in a quote that we used to hang on the walls in our radio station for years. The quote was, "In radio, sound is a very important element." Now, this was Hitchcock, of course, and he was a little bit of a character, but what does that mean? It means that you have to be cognizant of being able to hear everything that's being said. When you have these moments on these television or radio programs, television also tremendously, you've got people on a panel talking over one another, and they start laughing with each other, and they start going into all these, collective chatter moments, and you can't put that on the radio necessarily because you can't hear what this person just said. If a joke happens and everyone's roaring with laughter and you didn't hear the joke, that can't happen. I can't leave that joke in because, unfortunately, no one heard it. But it was a great joke, trust me.
One of the things that really captured me about you is how much you love the medium, how much you love radio. And it's just like you built your whole career and maybe your whole life around it. And where does that come from? Where does that passion come from?
I thought you were going to tell me, Richard. You've got a little bit of that passion yourself, actually. But
it's the old producer's trick. Turn it back on the host. I see.
Yeah, well, no, actually, the truth is it comes from exposure to the medium at a young age. I think, I had this experience when I was about 11 years old when we it's a long story, but my family and I took a trip to Minnesota, of all places, and we stayed at a Holiday Inn. And in the basement of the Holiday Inn, there was this radio station, a music station. I'll never forget it. It was KNXR Radio. It was one of these classic, beautiful music stations from the old beautiful music days. I discovered this because they had their headquarters in the basement, and I found myself just fixated, just staying by the display window of the place, just looking at all the operations and what was going on. And the folks inside were very friendly. They invited me in, which I didn't believe. And they said, yeah, let me show you what goes on around here. And they were showing me the operation, and it was fascinating. Now, my fascination with radio went long before that. I was this insomniac child in my parents' home, getting up at like 2 o'clock in the morning when the whole house was asleep. And as I walked past the bedrooms, there would be radios on at the bedside, because my older folks, my elders, were folks that grew up in the days of, believe it or not, the great days of radio, in going back to the war years and that sort of thing. And these were radio kids. They were raised on radio. So many years later, they needed that radio sound to just kind of like white noise or something. Or, you have one of these little sound effects machines with the ocean on it. What they needed to fall asleep with was the radio, and it actually helped them. But they did do a lot of listening as well. And when they did listen, like in the car or something like that, they really listened to what was happening, the discussions that were going on. And there were some very, very lengthy and interesting discussions that would go on the radio. And I would be this insomniac child at 2 a.m. walking past the halls, hearing these discussions that were going on talk radio at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm saying to myself, this is an 8-year-old child saying to himself, what could these people possibly be talking about at 2:30 in the morning? That's so interesting. And it became sort of a life quest. I had to figure out what is so involved at 2:30 in the morning that it becomes radio at that hour. And many years later, I discovered it. Some of it's on right now.
Yeah. Radio has always been a part of my life, though. I mean, I can remember as a young kid, every morning listening to WGN in Chicago.
There you go.
And we were getting ready I was getting ready for school. My parents were getting ready for work. We always had the radio station on. And that was before we had the internet and cell phones and all this other stuff. But it was
In other words, Richard, it was before we had all the distractions. You see, that's something else about great radio, which is that there was just a little bit more concentration in the way people listened at that time. There's this big this big struggle fighting for attention space. Elizabeth knows all about this because she talks about it practically every week on this show. Yeah. The war for attention space.
But it didn't feel like a war. And probably was because there was advertising. I mean, radio was a business.
It wasn't the war that it is.
But now it's a crazy war.
Yeah.
And because everybody has access to the public airwaves in one shape or another, which is great. I think it's a great
democratization.
Democratization. It's a great democratization.
You're talking about democratization, but I will tell you that what's going on right now could be called attention anarchy.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Yeah.
And there's no getting around that. That's just the nature of what's been introduced into our culture. That was one of those little things that not a lot of people thought about when they started inventing all these things.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that it's nothing. So much
that it's nothing.
But there is
Write that down. That's going to be the subtitle of the show. So much that it's nothing.
There is one place where radio wins, I think, over everything else. If you're driving in your car, and you maybe can't even put a podcast on because you're trying to pay attention to your driving instead of fumbling through podcast titles. If you're driving in your car, at least me, my personal experience, I'm listening to the radio. And I can tune through different stations. If Richard's in the car, we might be listening to a podcast, but those kind of take some concentration. Like, I want to just listen to the radio. And then when I'm stuck in traffic, I've been thinking this lately, it's okay because I can listen to good songs on the radio while I'm sitting here. So at least I'm doing something fun. And I think that's where radio wins.
Yeah.
Radio does win there, and you cannot have your attention anarchized like that. You need to have a situation where you can simply focus. You're in a position, in a place where you can actually focus. I said this long ago, I think, in one of my little retrospective corners on the show, that this on-demand element of today's culture, unfortunately, has kind of driven us a little bit over the edge here. In the old days, television, for example, was something that you looked in the TV guide, you saw what each of the 6 channels were playing, you knew what was on, you knew what you weren't going to be able to see, and you made a choice and you watched something. It's much more difficult now. Now we are on the cusp of this situation where you, the listener, you, the viewer, have to make all these decisions. And you know what? It's great to have choices, but we don't really want all those decisions. Sometimes it would just be easier if someone told us, hey, you're going to watch this on Channel 6 tomorrow night because that's what's on.
And with the limited choices, you also know what other people are watching. And it gives a way to communicate with other people. You know, the next day at work, did you see this episode of Little House on the Prairie?
That too. So now it's a situation where you arrive to work the next day and everyone's talking about a show that you didn't even know about, or you can't see because you don't have that streaming service or that sort of thing. When I went to school in the 1900s, there was a term that professors started using in media courses called narrowcasting. And I thought to myself, well, that's a little over the top. We haven't gotten to a place where narrowcasting becomes an issue yet. Now everything is narrowcasting.
What does that mean?
What it means? Well, what's the opposite of broadcasting? Broadcasting is when the entire world, the entire listening universe can hear what you're doing, and we still have plenty of that, thank goodness. But narrowcasting is when you've got creations that are meant to be heard by very, very specific, very elite audiences at a time, because that's the only people that are going to be able to hear them at that time. And as a result, more and more we've gotten into that, and that's where the attention anarchy comes in, because people are all fighting for the attention space of the listeners.
I have such an appreciation. Guiding Light actually it started as a 15-minute radio show.
The Guiding Light. My goodness, one of the longest running presentations.
It was the longest running show, but it
We have
started
a long way to
I
go,
had people
Richard.
come up to me. I used to listen to it on the radio. So what's one of your most favorite experiences from your radio career?
One of my most favorite experiences. Should we talk about the time someone brought a snake as their on Passage to Profit years
Eric,
ago?
the reptile guy?
Yes.
Well, the snakes are drugged, right? So you didn't. But
my
I remember
Yeah.
Noah running down the hall. I got to talk to legal about this.
That was one of those. That wasn't exactly one of those Jim Fowler on the Tonight Show stories, but there was another one. Let's see. Well, there was a Passage to Profit presentation we did where I think Elizabeth was talking about a little earlier, where a guest got a little belligerent with one of the panelists, and it almost turned out to be like an argument. We nearly had someone get up and leave. It was one of these things where it was like, you hear these stories about the old David Susskind shows on television where a guest gets angry and walks out or something like that. Well, that didn't happen quite. But at the same time, we're all sitting there looking at each other going, are we even going to be able to put this on the radio? And I said, well, we can't lose this. This is just too good. We're going to have to find a way to keep this in. And among Passage to Profit, I would say that was probably one of the most conquering moments, I think, when I said to myself, there are probably going to be a few times I'm going to have to do some heavy editing on this, but I just don't know. But here was a situation where most of us thought, forget about it. And I said, nah, you know what? Let me take this into the kitchen later on. I think we can make this work. And believe it or not, a couple of days later, after a few late nights of editing, it actually worked.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That was great.
Sonia, I have to ask you one question. You appeared on Guiding Light many years ago. Now, I know there was this situation that went on many years ago when producers of these daytime dramas decided suddenly, after years of recording shows, they said, hey, we may have to go live. Let's try it. And suddenly it became a trend. This was many, many years ago this happened. I don't know if you were a part of any of those live presentations.
It actually happened right after, because I always say
you missed
I
out
thought
on that?
I did. Soap operas went down during the OJ trial, because
Oh,
we actually
that's
got
right.
moved. But that was also the beginning of reality TV, because basically the OJ trial was reality TV, a lot cheaper, unfortunately. But I think that was also where they thought it's too expensive. We need to save money. And hey, reality TV is good. So let's just go live, just like as if it were reality.
And you can save a few dollars on writers.
Yeah. So I never got that experience. I would have loved it. It would have been like doing a play only on TV,
Well-
because that was always the great thing, where if you screwed up, you would just start swearing or something, because you knew that they couldn't save that on broadcast TV. So they'd have to cut and give you a second chance.
Well, television's origins, as many of us know, came in those situations when everything was absolutely live and there were no second takes. You just went with it.
So, Noah, this has been fabulous. How do people find you if they want to ask you a question?
How do people find
Are you
me?
on LinkedIn?
Well, not on LinkedIn, but I can certainly be reached if anyone wants to reach out to the Passage to Profit website. I think that's a great place to start, and that would be fabulous. But thank you so much, though, for having me join the panel and be a part of this tremendous. There's a tremendous cake outside, and there's going to be cake partaking later on. So by all means, let's immediately start feeling guilty now.
Well,
But thank you
so
again.
pre-cake
Thank
guilt. I'm not sure I want to go down that road, but also some very special thanks for everything that you've done, and working with you has just been an absolute pleasure. We wouldn't be here without you, and you're an important person for us, and thank you for all you do.
8 more years.
I want to thank you both. This is the high school Arista Club induction that I never had. Thank you so much. Absolutely. If only they could see me now, they could say, who is this guy? I never met him before. Thank you so much again.
Now it is time for Rinseroo. I've been waiting to say that all day. We have Lisa and Lauren Lane, and I love this product. I am going to let you guys describe what it is and how it works and how you came up with it. So please tell us first what it is and how it works.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's a very basic product. Sometimes the simplest products are the best problem solvers, right? So imagine if you have a shower, but you have no handheld attachment. You want to rinse your shower walls or bathe your dog. How have you done it in the past? You fill a bucket over and over. Time consuming, it's messy. So we thought up a way to solve that problem. The Rinseroo, it's a patented slip-on hose that slips over shower heads, tub spouts, sink faucets, and makes rinsing, cleaning, and bathing super easy and fast.
Can you tell us a little bit how it's put together and how it works?
Yeah, it's a hose, but it's connected to the faucet or the sink with a stretchy connector. So it simply stretches over the shower head or stretches over the tub spout. That is attached to a hose, and then there's a spout or a spray head on the end, and it just...
You can use it for whatever you want.
You can use it for whatever you want. Initially, we thought it would be great for cleaning shower walls, but then we got so much feedback from our customers. They're like, I'm filling a bucket from the sink with this thing. My mother is elderly and she sits in the shower and I don't have a handheld. Wouldn't it be great if I could attach something to the shower head and bathe her while she's seated in the shower? My dog needs a bath on a weekly basis. I need something to attach to the tub. And we just got all this feedback from our customers, and we keep coming up with line extensions. But the original was just a shower cleaning device, basically. Yeah.
Well, I want one for traveling because I do like using a handheld. I feel like I get a stronger water stream and I can really get like my hair rinsed out and everything. So I am going to buy one for traveling, definitely. So I have to talk to you about the right one to get. I want kind of a long one. And because like a lot of times too, the shower heads, they're just icky and not that great. So anyway, so do you sell a lot for traveling?
You know what? First of all, Elizabeth, thanks for having us on your 300th episode. I'm going to send one to you free of charge. No need for a purchase. But yeah, we actually have quite a few people that do travel around. They use them in various hotel rooms. Some people will have surgery, for example. They want to keep a particular area of their rear end dry or whatever, or they, a certain wound. Maybe they're just in the hospital even. They'll use it in the shower in the hospital. We have caregivers using it. Yeah, I mean, the uses it's crazy what has become of this simple idea. It's really blossomed well beyond our wildest dreams. It's been fun.
And like a handheld, that is part of the shower or the tub fixture, lots of times those are heavy, they're clunky, they're awkward to move around. It seems to me that your invention is a lot easier to maneuver.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a lightweight. I think the hose itself, depending on, how long it is, we have 5-foot hoses, 6-foot hoses. They're made of flexible PVC, so they weigh just a few ounces. You can coil them up, you can travel with them, and better than the old, not the old ones, but the ones that attach to the shower heads that are metal.
Yeah.
So for convenience sake, it's a perfect.
So are you allowed to talk about your Shark Tank experience?
We are allowed to talk about it. Yeah. What would you like to talk about?
Well, did you get funded?
We were on season 16, episode 10. And we got Lori Grenier's golden ticket. And I don't know if your listeners are familiar with what a golden ticket is, but Lori basically gives one golden ticket per season to a product that she thinks is a standout, that has potential. And we won it. And honestly, we were targeting her going in. We're like, our shark is Lori, but we weren't going to say that prior. So we were thrilled. Yeah, it was really exciting.
Did that help you sell a lot?
You know what? Just being on Shark Tank itself, I think, is obviously you get the big boost that night that it airs, but it also airs on CNBC. It randomly shows up here and there. And then when you can say you're on Shark Tank in your social media and you can put as seen on Shark Tank, it adds credibility. That alone has helped boost sales. Yeah, it's a combination of a little bit of everything. And I think they say it's like harder to get into Shark Tank than it is to get into Harvard.
Wow.
And it's worth the effort, I will say. Yeah.
Wow.
Tell us a little bit about the steps that you took to build the business before you got to Shark Tank. And how did your business change after you were on Shark Tank?
It's interesting because when I came up with this idea in my shower, it literally was an idea that came to me in my shower. I was not young. I was 53 years old and I had no manufacturing experience. I was a pharmaceutical rep back in the day. I was like, I kind of think if this works, it'll be something that's kind of cool. Maybe I could sell a couple on the side, have a little side gig. And it really blossomed into something beyond my wildest dreams. So basically, what I did is we came up with a rough prototype that actually worked quite well. And I thought, well, now what do I do? Like, I don't know anything about, do I need an engineer? Do I need a patent? Do I need to go to China to get a manufacturer? I knew none of it. But, the beauty of the internet and a lot of great books that are out there, I was able to dive in and figure it out myself. I read a book. It was called The Mom Inventor's Handbook, How to Turn Your Idea into the Next Big Thing. And that book was like my Bible. I mean, it told me how to get a patent, how to find an engineer, how to find a manufacturer. If you sell this product, is there a market out there? And if there is a market, how do you know if it's worth selling? Like, can you make a profit off of this? What's your manufacturing cost going to be? And in the end, are you going to come home with some money or is it just a great idea? So, yeah, that's sort of how it all came about. Just learned it. And we've really been learning since then. Every day we're learning more and more AI. And, it's just it's always a learning process. And it's been about 7 years since we launched. And we're growing. And now it's TikTok. It's like there's always something new to learn. So it's been fun.
What is one of the biggest things you've done to market the product that you found besides Shark Tank to get it out there?
You know what? There is an online media database, I guess, or it's called Quoted. So there are journalists out there looking for, they have a story that they want to do and they're looking for expert opinions and whatnot. So we go on to Quoted often. We'll pitch journalists and sometimes, you'll get great PR that way. Free. We were on Bloomberg, Forbes. We got on to the Today Show. So just things like that. And then when you get out there, more and more people find you. And it's sort of like a blossoming and it blooms from there. So that's just one way.
And so I have one other question because I'm so curious. You're mother-daughter, right?
Yes.
And so what's it like to work with your mom?
Good. I felt like I've been hogging this.
Well, that is a very good question because it's actually something I resisted for quite a long time. I worked in marketing at startups and my mom has been trying to hire me, I think since I started working. It was a lot of pressure because obviously you always want to report to your boss and do a good job, but I see how much time my mom puts into this. She really goes to sleep thinking about it and wakes up thinking about it. So when you see how much care someone has for it, it adds another layer. So I would say in a funny way, it's a little bit more stressful because you don't want to disappoint someone when you really know their passion. But other than that, it's quite pleasant because when I need a day off, she really understands why, and my PTO tends to get approved. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, which product is your biggest seller and who's using it the most, do you think?
So it's definitely the pet tub hose. People love their dogs. So dog owners and people are really finding it on TikTok. I know my mom mentioned the product is demonstrable. When you see a social media video of a dog that like matches your dog's breed or something that'll just make your life easier, it's easy to watch and buy right there. So dog owners are definitely buying the pet tub hose.
Is that, I mean, because they could use a regular hose, but that would be freezing cold water. Is this because they can have warm water for their dogs?
I definitely think that's a big part of it. I manage a lot of our customer service requests, and people are always looking for ways to make bath time for their dog a little bit more comfortable. Some funny questions and suggestions, trying to make the water a certain temperature, the right flow. So yeah, people are wanting warm water and comfort for the dogs.
So how has this business changed you, if at all?
Good question for her.
How has it changed me? My goodness. Well, first of all, I'm a boss for the first time, which is pretty cool. But it's changed me in a way where I am just so grateful to have my kids working with me every day. My son's in Florida, my daughter's here in New York. But, we'll Zoom together. It's a great way to bond with my family. And what's great to me about having a business and being an entrepreneur is I want my legacy not to be how much did I make, how much did I earn, what did I leave for my kids? Right? Like my 2 children are going to take this over. I'm old. So I'm trying to groom them to be able to take it over. And it's really, it's a wonderful thing watching them learn with me, learn about the business. I teach them. And it's really, that's been the best part of it, working with the family for sure.
What was the biggest obstacle that you faced?
Oh, gosh. You guys probably know this, being IP attorneys. So, when you have a successful product, especially on Amazon, everybody immediately learns and knows that. And instantly, I feel like the copycats showed up. And it was so annoying because I'm like, I put my heart and soul into building this and to getting my patents. And and then they would show up and not just have a knockoff product, but they would use my images, me with my dog. I'm like, how dare you do this? So it was really, frustrating and just, I was just mad, So we ended up hiring a company that will do the takedowns. But it's really it got to the point where there were so many, it became a full-time job. Yeah. So, and there are companies that will do the takedowns, but then they seem to pop up again. So it's a whack-a-mole.
Well, do they have the Apex program? Is that Amazon?
Yeah.
They do. Yes.
Are you able to use that, or is it just too much to even?
Well, that's a good question for you guys, actually. I'm glad you asked. I'm glad I'm here. So Apex, we do have 8 utility patents, but we've attempted on a couple times to do an Apex takedown. And then all of a sudden, the knockoff company has an attorney that comes at us with big, they're swinging a big bat. Hey, don't say this because we're going to say this. So I'm fearful that could this end up in litigation? Like some of them are easy takedowns, but maybe when they're potentially infringing, we don't quite know. And then they're trying to scare us off. So,
well, yeah, that's part of the strategy, is they want to up the ante, and they'll try to find issues with your patents, and they'll try to find issues with the patent claims. The patent claims are the part of the patent that define the technical scope, and they'll try to find reasons why their client's patent doesn't, or their client's product doesn't infringe that patent. And you have to have confidence in the people that are representing you, as well as use some common sense to go through the evaluation and make a decent business decision. So
right.
It all comes down to what is the litigation or the potential litigation going to cost versus what are you going to lose in sales.
Right.
And for smaller issues, maybe the solution is just to approach them for a license and say, look, at 5%, you don't steal any of our marketing or our branding, and we'll deal with it that way. So there's a lot of options. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing proposition.
Well, I brought this up because Gearhart Law does have a client who is using the Apex program to force people to get licenses. And it's starting to add up for her. So you might want to look at that with the patent attorney. And it doesn't have to be Richard, but we know about the Apex program and how to use it.
Great.
So,
yeah. Good to know. Thank you.
And sometimes there's times when you always want to dominate the market, But there's also times when having competitors helps build the category.
True.
And as long as you're getting a piece of that, a fair piece of that, then, maybe it's not such a bad idea, because the more people see it, then a Rinseroo in every home.
Right.
And so, but you have to have enough market to get to that point.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I initially thought the same thing when, as mad as I was with the knockoffs, I'm like, well, maybe they're finding that name and they see Rinseroo and they're doing a search and finding us because of that. So that's an interesting thought that I hadn't thought about.
You should look into that, because I know my hat just keeps coming out. I know she's pretty happy with what she has.
I think she makes more money now with the licensing than she
Maybe,
does with the
yeah.
product.
It's interesting, though, because as a brand owner, it's like your baby.
I
It's like,
know.
oh, do I want to give
And that's
this?
totally legit.
Yeah,
I mean, because you
yeah.
put all your work into it.
Yeah.
And then you have these people monitoring the Amazon website, and they look for the popular products. They just say, and especially if it's a straightforward product that doesn't have a lot of technology.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's it could, if it's simple to copy.
But I think you can still sell it yourself, even if you license it to other people to
True.
sell.
Yeah.
They're infringing on your market already, but maybe you get something back from it. Like you said, you're afraid of litigation, which is a very good fear to have, because that can get expensive.
Yes.
Our IP news segment, as our listeners from earlier in the show will appreciate, sometimes court verdicts can be inconsistent. Right. And so the litigation world is unpredictable. So if you can resolve it through a sensible settlement, that's always the best way to go.
I'm curious, did you do a lot of research or test marketing before you developed the product, or did you just take the leap?
You know what? We actually just wanted to know if, first of all, can we come up with something that actually works? So I think most inventors start with some type of a really rough prototype. And I don't know if you guys are familiar, but you remember like back in the day, there were like those stretchy toys that you can get from like China, and they stretch and they're,
Yes.
like they
I
have
know what you're
fringy
saying.
things. Some of them have
Yeah.
eyeballs. And
Yeah.
so we actually we just went on to Amazon. We got a bunch of different versions of those. And we're like, oh, we need one that looks like a tube. And we actually just bought those and attached them to a hose with like a rubber band. And we're like, you know what, this actually kind of works. And if it works as well as a rough prototype, if we actually had it produced, it may be really a great product that people could use and make their lives a little bit easier. And that's sort of how it all started.
How do people find you to get the real Rinseroo?
The real Rinseroo. Okay. Well, we are on TikTok, and I think TikTok is Rinseroo,
Yeah,
right?
just Rinseroo.
Rinseroo. And then Instagram is official Rinseroo.
Okay.
And then LinkedIn. Lauren is on LinkedIn. Lauren Lane, Lisa Lane, and my son Jake Lane. We're all on LinkedIn. And of course, Rinseroo.com is our website, and anyone could reach out to us there.
And you can buy it on Amazon as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
TikTok, Walmart.
Yeah. Amazon, TikTok, Walmart, Chewy, and Lowe's. Yeah.
Awesome.
Wow.
That's great.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you very
I'm
much.
going to get one for traveling.
Thank you.
You are listening to the Passage to Profit Show with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart. Our special guest today, Sonia Satra. And now it is time for Secrets of the Entrepreneurial Mind. So Sonia Satra with Motocise, what is a secret you can share?
Then it wouldn't be secret anymore, would it? I do think you're in, well, back to energy, right? Energy and your mindset. I think I do, especially as a coach, I try to walk my talk, but I also try to do what I tell others to do. And it's uncanny how I'll often get clients that come to me either right after I've had the same problem or at the same time. And they said that at the beginning when I was learning, when I was getting my coach certification, they'll say it's amazing the kind of people that you'll attract are often very much in the vortex of what it is that you're dealing with. And I think that's probably true for all businesses. And so it's really, really important to stay in alignment with if I'm asking somebody else to do something, then I think it's really, really important that I've either done it or that I'm doing it myself. So I try to stay ahead of it so that I can speak to it. But if it happens to come simultaneously, I'll often do challenges at the same time as clients. I'll be like, all right, you ready to take this on? Let's do it together.
Excellent.
So I think that.
That's a great secret. So Lisa Lane with Rinseroo.
I'm glad I had time to think about my secret. One thing I'm always asked is, they're like, you guys are a small brand. How do you compete with these big brands like the Delta faucets, the Moens. And you know what? We're number one on Amazon in those categories, which I'm very proud of, right? I think there's a secret to doing that. How do you compete with the big guys, the big budget guys with a low budget, right? You get onto TikTok. All right. Now, TikTok, the beauty of TikTok is we as a brand can make our own videos. We can talk about our brand story. We can look our customers in the eye and sell them our product, right? They want to buy, not from the Moens, they want to buy from the people that they just saw on TikTok. They want to buy from my kids, right? There's that personal connection. I think when you can connect personally to people online, that's the key to really competing. And then when you grow on TikTok, guess what? They want it delivered the next day. So they go to Amazon and they purchase it. And then the Amazon algorithm will reward you because you're sending all this external traffic in. And next thing you know, your product is number one in that category. So that's my secret tip.
And can I just say something about that? I think that's that X factor. Because
Yes.
you're on TikTok, your energy, your children's energy is coming out. Your purpose is so defined. It's like so clear. You're so in alignment. You care so deeply that people feel that. And they're like, I need that,
Exactly.
Where a big company doesn't have that.
Right,
It's a generic thing without very much energy.
Yeah. And you know what? We are small enough. I mean, you're looking at 2/3 of the team right here. We can make decisions in real time. Like we can decide something that day, whereas the Moens have to go through the hierarchy of, this one said this and then marketing has to sign off on it. And that's the beauty of being a smaller brand. It's really you can work it to your advantage.
Yeah. So Lauren Lane with Rinseroo, do you have a secret you'd like to share?
I will say, as I'm trying to step into my mom's shoes here and eventually take over the business, it's just to have gratitude for the opportunity to do that. I found that since we are a small team, I'll often get stuck with some crazy work. I'll be answering the phone to people who have customer service complaints at all hours of the day, or just digging into things that I never thought I would have to do, but I feel so lucky to do that, and it makes the workday easy and more enjoyable. So always keeping gratitude is the secret.
I love that. I love that. Richard Gearhart with Gearhart Law. Do you have a secret?
Celebrate everything.
Yeah.
Especially 300 episodes.
Celebrate 300 episodes. Celebrate the small victories. Celebrate the big ones. Every night, Elizabeth and I will ask each other, well, what were the 3 good things that happened to you today? And depending on my mood, it might take a few minutes to come up with some ideas. But it is a great habit that she established for us as a couple. And it's in those tiny little celebrations, I think, that make a difference.
Yeah, sometimes it's just we had enough to eat today.
Right.
As there have been
Sometimes
times.
it's nothing bad happened. But it's part of establishing the gratitude, right?
Yeah.
And appreciating what you have.
Kind of back to Sonia's X Factor. I feel like networking is really important still. So I have a very good friend, and she has done a lot for me to help me get presentations and help me promote my studio. And she said, you have to come to this networking event Monday night. And I was like, but I have to go because she's done so much for me. And I was so glad I went. It was a women's networking event, but there were people that talked about sleep. There's a sleep center. I'm going to go see if it can help me sleep. And then there was another woman talking about like just other things, like she was a dermatologist, and I'm like, wow, I'm really glad. And I met some wonderful women there. It was really, so I think networking is still important. And that X factor, like you meet people and you start talking and it's natural. It's not stinted like it is over Zoom or whatever. And you can read the body language. So yeah, that's my secret.
I mean, it's not just the business part. It's like you learn things that can benefit you in all parts of your life. Yeah.
Well, sleeping definitely benefits the business part.
Well, that's it for us this week. Thanks for listening. Passage to Profit is a nationally syndicated radio show appearing on 41 radio stations across the U.S. Thank you to the Passage to Profit team, our producer Noah Fleischman, our program coordinator Alicia Morrissey, and our social media powerhouse Carolina Tabares. If you'd like to hear the broadcast again or share it with your friends, look for our podcast tomorrow anywhere you get your podcasts. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube, and on the iHeart app. And for all your patent, trademark, and copyright needs, our firm Gearhart Law offers free consultations. Contact us at gearhartlaw.com. And while the information provided during this program is believed to be correct, never take a legal step without first checking with your legal professional. That's it for us. We'll see you again next week on Passage